This week's top 10 is sure to rustle a few feathers. It's a top 10 MOBAs. Let us know what you consider to be the best one on our Facebook page. Just keep it civilized.
Starting our list is Guardians of Middle-earth at number 10. Currently supporting a 35 character roster from all across the Lord of the Rings universe, it includes characters such as Gandalf, Frodo, and even Sauron. At number 9, we have Awesomenauts. Swapping out the traditional overhead gameplay for 2D platforming, it presents one of the more unique takes on the MOBA genre. With comedic charm and a style like that of old Saturday morning cartoons, this MOBA certainly is awesome. In at number 8, it's Monday Night Combat. This game breaks away from the traditional MOBA layout and instead hosts third-person shooter-style gameplay, while still using the popular 3-lane system. Coming in at number 7, we have Infinite Crisis. Based on the widely popular DC comic universe, it borrows aspects from several different MOBA titles, such as Dota 2 and League of Legends, but still provides its own spin on traditional MOBA gameplay. At number 6, it's Heroes of Newerth. Heavily based on the original Dota, HON, for short, borrows the same gameplay formulas. For anyone who wants to check out one of the first games that started the genre, HON is for you. At number 5, we have Dota. Considered as the first of the MOBA genre, it was originally created as a mod for Warcraft 3. Dota has a total 110 playable heroes and plays on a standard 3-lane map. Elements from Dota have been implemented in a variety of different MOBA games. Coming in at number 4, it's Smite. One of the more recent MOBAs on our list, Smite focuses more on action, moving the camera in behind the player for a third-person view. The game's characters consist of ancient gods, each with their own traits and powers. In at number 3, we have Heroes of the Storm. Developed by Blizzard, the game features characters from the Diablo, StarCraft, and Warcraft universes. Using the same basic gameplay of other MOBAs, Heroes of the Storm has much shorter matches, creating a more frantic atmosphere.
Detected.
At number 2, it's Dota 2. Considered one of the best MOBAs out there, Dota has a fan following in the millions. Boasting over 100 heroes, the series has come far from its original roots, pioneering the genre from the beginning.
Would you be strong?
And at number 1, it's League of Legends. Considered one of the most played games of all time, LoL has over 10 times the amount of players Dota has. This was one of the toughest decisions we've had to make for a top 10, as the difference between LoL and Dota is really just player preference.
I'm in the PlayStation meeting room at E3 2015. I'm with Ian, the creative director on What Remains of Edith Finch. How's your E3 going so far?
Great. Yeah, it's been really interesting seeing all kinds of people come by, and especially people that know nothing about the game at all, and seeing their reactions.
Yeah, I just got a chance to play the game, and I told your game designer that it was probably the most standout experience I've had so far at E3.
Oh, great!
Can you tell us a little bit about the game, like where it takes place and that kind of stuff?
Sure. So the game takes place in Washington State, and you play as Edith Finch, and you're coming back to the house you grew up in, and you're exploring the history of your family.
Yep.
And you do that by exploring the house itself, and in each of the bedrooms for the family members, you find stories about how that family member died. And you're exploring a couple generations of the family, and so you're getting a look into this sort of larger-than-life history of a pretty crazy group of people.
And that takes you to a lot of kind of different experiences. The one that I had started out as a cat. What did it turn into? It turned into a owl after that, then a shark. It's kind of hard to explain.
No, it's a hard game to explain. That's been our challenge for a while.
What kind of, is that typical of the game, or does each person have like their own kind of like moments, or?
Yeah, I mean, what we're trying to do, I guess, at a high level is make a game that gives players a chance to explore the unknown, and that feels like it evokes a little bit of the sense of beauty and horror that you get from nature.
Yeah.
And so that's a pretty, abstract concept. So it ends up, going off in a lot of different directions depending on the family member.
Yeah.
So for each of the family members, like one of the things we're also trying to do is make it feel like you're getting kind of a distinct perspective from the person that you're playing in that story. So the story you played was a 10-year-old girl who has this dream, wakes up and she's super hungry.
Yeah.
And so her story, is going to feel very different from, like a 45-year-old, father going out, with his daughter, for a day, or whatever the stories are about. So yeah, each of the stories definitely feels very different from each other, partly because we're trying to evoke, a sense of this broad family, but then also because the thing we're exploring, this kind of horror and beauty of nature, is also like not a fixed thing. Like it's something that takes a lot of different forms. I mean, we definitely want people to feel like they are always uncertain of what's out there, and because it's a game about the unknown. And similar to our last game, Unfinished Swan, part of the way that we're trying to make that come across in a game is to make the experience of playing the game mirror that. So that as a player, you don't really know, what you're doing, and even like just as something as simple as what my buttons do.
Yeah.
It's something that you're discovering in the same way that Edith in the game is discovering the history of her family. And one of the things that has been a bit of a struggle for us is trying to balance these very wide open spaces, like in the owl section or whatever, where you've got these infinite forests around you, but to make the game feel like it's still moving along, so that there's a story there. Like it's not like a procedurally generated forest that you are going to spend the entire game like Don't Starve or something like going off into. It's meant to feel a little bit more linear, but then you don't want to make it feel too linear as well. So the balance we have now is that, for example, as the owl, you're free to fly around and do whatever you want, and then hopefully players understand, like, okay, well, in order to move forward, I'm going to need to keep eating things, because that's what, in this story, the little girl's perspective is that she just wants to eat everything she sees. So we're not forcing players to move along, but we're showing them, how to move along when they want to.
All right, it's a very tough, like you said, it's a very tough game to explain.
That's great. I mean, I feel like we've done our job. If it's hard to even think about what questions to ask, and it's not about how many guns do you get or whatever, the more sensible questions for most games would be. But I think going back to what I was talking about earlier, one of the things that we're trying to do is to make the whole world feel really murky.
Yeah.
And in the shark level you talked about, that's a great example of a place where I think we've got a good balance of that now, where the water, is full of particulate matter, and there's a lot of kelp involved, and the lighting, is pretty dim.
Yeah.
And that's something that comes from actually doing a lot of scuba diving growing up in Washington State, where the game takes place. That feeling of, there's something that's beautiful about not being able to see everything around you, but there's something that's also disconcerting.
Yeah.
Because it's a nice way of, kind of tuning out things and just seeing the broader strokes and the colors. You can really soak it in, but at the same time, you have no idea what's out there and what, might be trying to eat you.
All right, cool. Thanks for talking with us. The game looks really fantastic. Like I said, it's probably one of the most standout experiences I've had at any E3, really.
Thanks. That's great to hear.
Yeah, I had a great time playing it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
My pleasure.